So there we are. Very good evening to you. We're live on Talk Radio tonight, and also, of course, we are live on TV as well. If you want to watch us on television, go to your favourite YouTube channel. You can get us on Facebook, you can get us on Twitter, you can get us anywhere you like. Just put in Talk Radio James Well Breaks the News. Not the wind, the news. I noticed some very rude people before as well. Right, let me introduce you to tonight's panel before we discuss the news. Here they are. Stephen Woolf. Stephen, of course, is the man who shot to fame as a UKIP MEP who had a fist fight outside the European Parliament. And it's done him no harm at all, really, and nice to see you. No fighting tonight, if you don't mind. OK, fine. Good. I'm doing a Boris Johnson. I shouldn't look. Somebody actually mentioned I put my hand in my pocket. Yeah, that's very Boris Johnson, isn't it? Maya, who is here. Now, Maya is a YouTube sensation. Every time Maya speaks, which is why we have him on the show, 1 million people listen. Is that right?
Allegedly.
Allegedly. OK. And next to you, we have Emma, who... Emily, yes. Emily. And Emily is also a YouTube sensation.
Twitter.
Oh, Twitter.
Yeah.
What is the difference?
YouTube. So one's for videos, one's for words. I'm better with words. He's better for the looks. Yeah, he's got the face. I've got the brain.
Yeah, because you're obviously the most attractive one on the panel tonight. Yeah.
Obviously.
Okay, fine. And, of course, Mr. Dolan here, I'm sure everybody knows from humorous programmes on the television, but I always think of him as an assistant producer on Talk Radio many, many years ago.
That's right. I mean, I think I made you probably about 8 million cups of tea back in the day.
And as long as I was polite to you...
You were always. You were avuncular.
If I knew what that meant, I'd probably agree. And, of course, this is a panel of stalwart men and women who are all rabid Brexiteers. Well, he's not rabid, but, you know. And if you want balance, go to the BBC. No, in fairness, you can have balance by calling us or getting in touch. May I introduce you to the other person who is regularly on this programme, Mr. Ricky the Remainer. Here we are.
Like the panto villain. I've never been a panto villain.
Oh, yes, you are.
Where are you tonight?
Well, I'm still in London. I'm not allowed to be anywhere else. I'm stuck outside the office, unfortunately. Right. But I'll be keeping an eye on all of your messages on social media this evening. You can tweet us, of course, on Twitter, message on Facebook and on YouTube, of course. And tonight, we're asking, is Boris a good Prime Minister? And can he deliver Brexit?
OK, well, that's a good question, and we will talk about that as well. I'm just slightly worried. If I look at that picture behind me, that picture's quite old, and I'm wearing the same jacket. So that just goes to show, doesn't it? I am saving the planet. Mr. Woolf, that's very sad about Stephen Woolf, actually. He wanted to be in the Brexit party, and they told him to no. Basically, told him no. But you're still an MEP, aren't you?
No.
You're not an MEP?
No, in July I ended the term, and so the new set of MEPs came in well, technically the end of July, beginning of August and September. So now I am on Civvy Street.
Well, that is so sad.
Yeah, I'm outside of politics, and technically no one really wants to me.
This whole debate, I don't know, but just to get everyone to speed here.
It's okay.
Britain is leaving the European Union. I don't
Not
know if
necessarily. We're going to sort this out.
Well, exactly. A thing called Brexit.
We will.
But you know what I think is interesting, James, and I think of this lost voice in British politics. It's important that you have a contribution to make as well, and a view. That actually the Brexiteers cannot get their ducks in a row because you've still got UKIP, by the way, who will be on people's ballot slips when they go into whenever the election happens.
I don't think anyone will vote for them though.
Well, perhaps
aren't they polling at 0%?
Well,
yes,
they might be, but the bottom line is you've got the Tory Brexiteers, the what's left of UKIP and the Brexit Party, who actually don't really agree on anything. I mean, the idea of a Brexit Party and Conservative pact is still a pipe dream, really, for Boris Johnson. Then you've got the Remainers, and we call them a group, but they're not a homogenous group because you've got the Labour Remainers who can't stand the Change UK people like Anna Soubry, and then, of course, half of the other Remainers have now joined the Lib Dems.
So what are we going to do about it? I mean, how are we going to sort this mess out? And that's what you're here for.
I'm here to fix
you're
everything.
Here for that. Right, Stephen, is Boris a good Prime Minister or not?
Boris has been brilliant at the moment. I think he has done exactly what they say on the tin. You remember the advert? He's gone out there and he said, I will try and ensure that we'll get Brexit out on the 31st of October. He's put the wind up the Remainers, who thought that they could try and scupper this through parliamentary time. And they have tried over 3 years to deny, damage and delay Brexit. They feel that at the moment they've won. They've got this opportunity to push Boris back in his box. But I think he's still got a few tricks up his sleeve. And we need to get behind him to ensure that all the backing of the Leave movement's there. And if that means some sort of deal between the Brexit Party and the Conservatives, yes, I agree with you. There's not much link between them. Maybe there's saying to the Northern Labour seats, let Brexit Party go in there. But fundamentally, all those leavers who genuinely believe in leaving the European Union have to be behind Boris, behind this government, and make sure it happens. And if we do, we'll leave.
All right. Probably he needs a little more discipline in some of the things he said, but I like him, I must admit. And everybody's getting upset about him saying, I'd rather be dead in a ditch. But quite frankly, I've said a lot worse. Maya.
But people like this. So the best way, in terms of the question, if he's a good Prime Minister...
Is he?
Well, the best way to judge if someone's doing a good thing, the right thing in politics, is to see the reaction from the left. They're losing their mind. So that's the best way to kind of judge it.
Yeah.
And actually, in terms of the things that's been happening over the last couple of days, and people are panicking, some Brexiteers are quite concerned and worried the way it's going. But actually, none of it has been unexpected or a bit of a shock, because Boris, Dominic Cummings, people in charge, all these things that's happened, all the votes, they were always going to be happening. So they know something that obviously we don't know yet. So as Stephen said, they already have a plan, I'm guessing. So
why, as a young gentleman, haven't you gone into politics? I'll come back to you on that.
Yeah.
I'll come back to you on that.
About that.
Money.
Dangerous times ahead.
Private life.
If you've got a view, is Boris a good Prime Minister or not? I think he's brought a lot of optimism to the country, but I'd like to get in touch. You could text us, tweet us, and everything else. Let's talk about Joe Johnson. What would you do, Emily, if he was your brother?
Well, I think there's this big hoo-ha. Wow, Boris Johnson's brother's resigned. But, you know, Joe Johnson resigned from Theresa May's cabinet over Brexit, and he's done the same with Boris. I don't think his issue is with his brother. I think it's with Brexit itself. And it's quite funny, actually, because my dad is a massive Remainer. I mean, he went to a People's Vote march, for goodness sake. Yeah.
What did you say to him?
It's hideous. It's
oh, dear, you poor thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I know. My poor... I mean,
can we just apologise to your dad? What's his name, by the way?
John.
John, it's okay, but she'll come round, I'm sure. Oh, no, maybe you'll come round, John. Yeah.
But I think me and my dad are quite a good example of how, you know, you can have completely opposite views and still get along. And I don't think it's
a lot of people
big,
aren't, though.
Well, I think you need to be a lot more tolerant. If you find yourself really hating someone just because of their political views. And I think you need to grow up a little bit.
When did you get so political?
Well, my dad was always like, Labour's the way to go, you know, always pushing for that left-wing agenda. But, you know, the rebellious little me when I was 15 did a bit of research.
And when they first asked you to go on Question Time, how did you feel?
So obviously I applied, got the tickets. I was so excited. You know, I love politics. When people say, all my friends say to me, like, how can you enjoy politics? It's so boring. Little do they know.
But it's
the most
life.
Exciting thing
It's life.
ever.
Politics is life.
It's like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get off.
Are they getting
I don't want to get off.
I'm feeling quite old. How are you feeling, Mark?
Ancient. And what normally happens is young people start being very left-wing and socialist, lots of ideals, and then they get on into their 30s.
Well, no, it's the same to me. I mean, I'm the way I am is because I went so far to the left that I went around.
Of course you did.
Like
You arrived at Jacob
We're on the
Rees-Mogg.
political roundabout.
Well, we're going to talk about Jacob in a moment, but I started off as a Remainer 3 years ago, as Stephen and people interviewed. And then after the debacle with the European elections and the way they dealt with that, I changed my mind. And I just reiterate this because I'll do it on the radio show later. For those of you not watching us on the television and do it on the radio show now, you know, why don't we just leave? Just do it today, and then we can actually get on with sorting it out. Mark.
I agree with you because I am also a Remainer that now wants to crack on with Brexit. I think we can all agree, Remainers and Brexiteers can agree that what we want is this to stop. We cannot continue as a nation with all of this confusion and doubt. Business hates it. And we're sick of it. But the only way to make Brexit go away is to deliver it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because if there's another referendum and we remain, you'll never hear the back of it, and the Brexit Party will become the strongest force in British politics.
Isn't it interesting that over the past 2 days we've seen two polls here in the United Kingdom, particularly the most important is the YouGov poll, that has actually polled all Remainers, and now they're saying that they're only down at 19% for those who want us to see us staying in the EU.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's above 50% those who want us to be on a no deal.
Stephen, let's just
People
cross
are
to
changing.
Ricky the Remainer and find out exactly, Ricky, what is going on.
Well, I just want to pick on something that Mark said before, which I think Mark and I are probably allies in this conversation.
You're just trying to sort of grease up to him because you think
I
it's
am.
the way to go as a producer who wears glasses.
Desperately, yeah. Like the older version of me, effectively.
That's the look I've been going for. I'm a fanboy.
No, but just be serious just for a moment. Everyone's talking about we just need to leave, just get on with it. And I think I agree, we do just need to get on with it. But everything effectively relies on Northern Ireland. As far as everything I can see, everything relies on Northern Ireland. And there is clearly no way that this can be solved or dealt with at this point in time. We cannot solve a hard border. We cannot find any reason or any explanation of how we can actually sort it out by October the 31st. So obviously, we need more time.
No,
Stephen.
no, we don't. We don't need more time. If you travel, as I did, from Brussels to Strasbourg, you have to go via Luxembourg in the car. And every month you would see the huge queues on the borders of Luxembourg and Belgium, and then the other side and France coming in. And that's where the douane, the customs people of the European Union, were stopping vehicles from Estonia and Poland to check their goods. Not directly on the border, but behind it. It happens there. In Switzerland, they do exactly the same. And the proof is in the pudding of today. Or was it yesterday, when Varadkar admitted he let the cat out of the bag and said, well, if we do go to no deal, perhaps we'll have to do all the checks not on the border but outside.
Which is what Barnier said about 6 months ago.
Absolutely.
Which is that if there's a no-deal Brexit, there will have to be alternative
And look,
arrangements.
they're not going to risk upsetting Britain. We are the biggest consumer they have. Do you have any social media, or are you just building your part?
No, we've got plenty of action on social media. Graham on Twitter, he says, pretty difficult for Boris Johnson to do anything. Obama was a bad president, but he didn't have the House on his side to pass bills. Dave on Twitter says that Boris Johnson could deliver Brexit, but the poultry in the chicken coop, if they grew some words and listened to the public for once, they could do it. And Helen Betts on Facebook, she says, yes, he's a good Prime Minister, it's the rest of Parliament that are rubbish. Ramonas hate Boris because he doesn't conform to the Labour, Liberal, lovey EU idealism.
Right, let's go on with Brexit, if you don't mind. I see, Mark, why you lent me that pen, by the way.
Because you're covered in ink now, aren't you?
Thank you very much indeed, yes. Was Boris right? Let's start with you, Emily. Was Boris right to kick out the rebel MPs?
I think so. I think any MP that purposely seeks to block the government's basic power, really, to govern, should absolutely. And I think it's something that that Theresa May was weak on. And so we've kind of got into this false sense of security that MPs can just rebel, and it can carry on, and they won't have any consequence.
What do you think should happen now? We're in a state where Boris can't govern because neither side is allowing him to do it. And as a nation, then we should be allowed to have a general election, shouldn't we?
I do, and I think the timeline that Boris has laid out is the right one. We must do it before the 31st so that the public can decide, do you want to crash out with no deal, or do you want to have an extension, or any of the above? And I think what's interesting is that the idea of Brexit was to have a natural birth. Now it's got to be... with smelling salts and classical music.
Oh, lovely.
But now it's got to be a C-section. Okay, we've got to get that baby out one way or another.
And obviously,
it could be a B section.
One of the wrong ways, because the Labour Party said no already. But he can. What Boris could do last minute is, as in like Monday, to call in no confidence in his own government. And if Jeremy Corbyn votes in his favour, basically he's defending the Tory government, and he can't do that. So
I think that's what he's going to do, actually.
Yeah, and that's the best way. He doesn't have to resign or anything. No. Just do that to call the election.
But I mean, it's ironic. Boris has got the job that he dreamed of his whole life, which is Prime Minister, and he's taken that job. I mean, the second worst time to be Prime Minister in the last 100 years was in 1940, when Churchill took over, had to defeat Hitler. OK, Barnier's not as bad. But the bottom line is, I mean, who would be Prime Minister today? And Boris has got the gig.
Hang on, guys. When Boris first became Prime Minister, the first day he went into Parliament and he gave that speech, I thought he brought a whole different atmosphere to the
Energy.
country, energy.
Rejuvenated the party
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. So you say it's a difficult time. Who wants to be prime minister? Actually, Boris Johnson's idol is Churchill, and he always actually ideal situation for Boris has always been to become prime minister when there's chaos, not when it's good. And actually, when things are good, no one would vote for Boris.
See, one has to take ourselves back to before the referendum. In certain parts of the country, we had optimism, particularly down here in the south, but across the swathes of the Midlands, eastern coast, Wales, the north, we're starting to become miserable, starting to look insular, starting to look as though we're being left behind. And Brexit was a massive opportunity for us to be excited about the future. All that Theresa May did was make us all feel miserable again. All the Remainers in Parliament made us feel miserable. Boris has brought excitement, energy, and a belief that we can be Great Britain once more. Well,
Sorry, Ricky, the Remainer, are you butting in
typing
over
up.
there? What?
He's trying to prorogue Parliament. Obviously, that's going to go to the Supreme Court, so we'll see what happens on that front. He can't get a general election.
how
He's
is
done a
he
speech
proroguing-
outside. He's electioneering
Excuse
already.
me. How is he he's proroguing Parliament because of the Queen's speech? It is a perfectly legal thing to do.
Yeah, and
he
it's also-
stopped it for 4 days, maybe 5 days.
Could be 6.
They could, or might be
He
6,
could've
or
done
maybe
it the whole
7.
time.
But they could
He
have
could've stopped
stopped their holiday. They needn't take a break for their jaunts. What are they?
Yeah, and they were planning on sitting through. They were planning on sitting
Ricky
through it
raises
anyway.
a good point, which is a lot of politics is optics. And Theresa May was popular as long as she was considered to be a reliable, sensible politician and strong and stable. And then she used that terrible catchphrase endlessly, and people had enough of it. But with Boris, he's got this sort of bumbling charm. He's quite authentic. He speaks from the heart. He shoots from the hip. But now you've got some quite ham-fisted ways of controlling the party, such as expelling Winston Churchill's grandson and former chancellors and all the rest of it, and proroguing Parliament. It's not a great look.
Can I also add,
Yeah, but it's a legal thing to do, isn't
It's
it?
the right decision to do.
Emily,
It's the
speak
right
up.
decision.
I absolutely think it is the right thing to do because I think it shows a lot of people think that Boris is going to lead just by his personality and doesn't have the substance behind him. But I think that's really shocked a lot of people because, yes, he might have expelled Winston Churchill's grandson from the party, but he was perfectly entitled to do so.
All right,
it's not
we're
working
going to
at the
take a
moment,
break,
is it?
and you can all argue amongst yourselves while we're doing that. You could join us. Ricky, remind everybody before we go to the break how they get in touch.
Yeah, you can tweet us at Talk Radio. You can message us on Facebook at Talk Radio UK and on YouTube as well.
This is James Whale on Talk Radio and, of course, on television with Breaking the News. Join us after this. God. Oh, dear. Oh, no, of course, on the radio. Welcome back to Talk Radio Classic. I was trying to be funny. Let's talk about Jacob Rees-Mogg's body language. And that didn't quite work, but OK. You'll have to go and watch. If you're not watching now on TV, you can check it out on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook and everything else. Was he being himself? Was it really that offensive? Is there nothing else to talk about, Stephen?
Look, this is where the whole of politics in our life is getting really ridiculous. I mean, how many times have we heard speeches that would send us to sleep? And we've heard them in Parliament. And when you're hearing the same arguments about Brexit over a time, I'm not surprised. Of course he's not being rude. Of course he's not being offensive.
He didn't have his feet on the chairs, did he?
If it was me, I'd have got my cushion and the rugs over me as well, because it's easy enough. The reality is they want to seek any excuse to find a problem with somebody who is opposing their argument. And that is why the people out there are fed up with political correctness.
No, you're
fed
right.
up with our politicians, because just leave it alone and talk into the issues.
I mean,
did you do on your YouTube channel him with a naked man lying on top? Was that you?
I wasn't allowed to because I would get demonetized from YouTube. But of all people getting accused of being offensive in the House of Commons is Jacob Rees-Mogg, the guy who's basically obsessed with the convention and tradition and everything.
Very similar to Mark, isn't he? In a way, the way he behaves and
Well, no, actually, there's a similarity. They're both very tall, and it's very difficult when you're that tall. You want to sit straight. It's not easy.
Actually, let me demonstrate. Could you stand up 1 minute? Can you stand up? Emily, could you stand up beside him?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, on the radio it's no good. You have to check this out on the TV.
This is quite unusual.
You're right up there.
It's not quite freak show,
You see, when everybody sits down on the television, it's no good you're listening on Talk Radio at the moment, but we'll get a shot of that and put it out. I cannot understand how that became a main news story. Never mind. Let's talk about Jeremy Corbyn. Mark.
Well,
is he ever going to be Prime Minister?
It's
and if
really
he is, what are we going to do?
I'm not normally a fan of polls, so I take them with a pinch of salt, but there was one interesting one that came up with, very good plumbers. The problem you've got with Jezza is the public think he's a greater threat to Britain than a no-deal Brexit. In fact, I think he's worse than a no-deal Brexit times 10. And actually, our bigger focus, and the problem with Brexit is we've taken our eye off the ideological boil, which is what is the future for our country? Are we going to be a competitive market economy, low tax, attract investment, or are we going back to the 1970s? And the dangerous thing about Brexit is it's a smokescreen that has allowed Jeremy Corbyn to slip under the radar slightly and gain traction with the British public. And I can't say that if there was an election in the next few weeks that he wouldn't do quite well, and that's a big worry.
Emily.
I think to kind of overcome that, I'm one of these kind of conservatives that thinks to be safe, we kind of do need to team up with the Brexit Party. I mean, the Conservative Party's polling at around 33%. I think we need to be looking at that 40% mark.
Are you a member of the Conservative Party?
I am.
Oh, right, fine. Okay.
I am. I do believe that. And I think the main reason is it's just so much is at stake here. If we have a general election now without the support of the Brexit Party in those northern seats, I do think that we are risking a Corbyn government and risking Brexit altogether. I mean, Emily Thornberry last night was absolutely saying that even if Labour negotiated a Brexit deal, she wouldn't even support it, and she'd kind of campaign against it in a second referendum.
I mean, lovely as Emily Thornberry is, she does insist on riding a flipping bicycle, and I don't think I can ever forgive that.
And also, it's the first time I've seen her lost for words, as she is a very eloquent, campaigner.
Yeah.
And actually, she should make a much more effective leader. But the Labour position on Brexit is so untenable. The idea that they'd negotiate a deal which then they'd argue against, I mean, you couldn't make it up. But I think there is a big if, which you touched on earlier, James, which is this idea that if the Conservatives team up with the Brexit Party, that they'll scoop up seats in the north. That involves dyed-in-the-wool Labour supporters voting Tory, which they have never done historically. A big if.
Maya, I'm going to come back to you in a moment. Just want to find out what Ricky the Remainer has got on social media at the moment. Ricky.
Well, we'll start with Jeff, who has asked me on YouTube. He says, he said Ricky is the only fly in the pie. I don't know what you're getting at. We'll actually go to Alan Ashwood, who said, in 1776, the Americans crashed out of the empire. They seem to be doing OK. Lovely historical reference for you there as well.
I think actually we could discuss whether they're doing OK or not, but OK, moving over. That,
I think they had other things going on as well at the time. Colin on Facebook says, the witch hunt against Boris Johnson is utterly pathetic. This is supposed to turn the electorate against him, but as far as I can see from myself and my family, it's having the opposite effect. Now, I was just want to add something else in that you were all talking about before, about Labour and the Conservatives. You're all missing the point. This is a perfect opportunity for the Lib Dems to sweep in there. No, I'm being absolutely honest. No one knows what Labour are going to do with it. No one trusts the Tories. The Brexit Party, I don't know if they're going to get enough votes. The Lib Dems are the only ones people are going to be voting for. They've got a clear policy on Brexit.
You're building your part, aren't you? Yeah. Maya, Liberal Democrats, do you love them?
There's no need for them in this country. This country's policy, as Margaret Thatcher said once, it is a basic black and white left and right, but not in the same sense of like just capitalist socialists. And now it's remained Brexit, but it's the same sort of argument, liberalism versus more control. And but the reason I know a lot of kind of sensible, good liberals support the EU. Is because the fear that obviously if we have full democracy and full lack of control when it comes to voting, yes, someone like Jeremy Corbyn would come and like destroy the industries and everything. But you kind of need that. People need to know the threats. People
but isn't it good to have two main characters, Corbyn and Johnson, that are so opposed to each other?
Yeah.
I mean, the unfortunate thing is we've got all this other mess in the middle, which is confusing the issue.
Well, yeah, but the whole structure of the House of Commons is built for left and right, government opposition. Yeah. If you just have the whole House, two sides. I mean, I'm not saying ban all the other parties, but if they will just merge with each other, to be fair, it's bad for the Tory party because
actually that's a good question. Let's ask our listeners and viewers what they think. Is there any necessary for anything other than two main parties, I wonder? Ricky?
Yes, obviously, as I just said. When you got the two major parties.
No, I meant social media. We're not in the slightest bit interested in what you've got to say. No.
You've got to give them a chance to respond, but I can give you some other ones if you like.
Is he going to stand as a Lib Dem in there? He's looking for that.
My favourite moment of the week was on Talk Radio when, who was it, the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Jo Swinson. She said, I might well be the next Prime Minister of this country. Which she told Julie Hartley-Brewer. Now, I don't know what she... I mean, I know they're liberal about drug laws, but I don't know what she was on when she said that. But maybe her... I don't know.
Magic mushrooms.
Hey,
well, I think so.
Maybe everything falls about... You know, we are in a situation, we're laughing about it, it's quite funny, everybody's got an opinion on this. I've never known a time, and I've been doing this a long time, where every single person in this country has an opinion. Has an opinion. In the shops, in a cab, walking down the street, in the pub, in a restaurant, everybody's got a point of view on it.
You know, Tory commentator Tim Montgomery, he said something brilliant yesterday. He said it's either no deal or no Brexit now. That's where we're at. Yeah. But the problem you've got, and I'm a Remainer that thinks we have to get on with it, the problem with no deal is it will be like a trade war. There will be a bumpy path ahead. And the issue you got is when you're in any kind of battle like that, you need everyone on board. Half the country... is anti-Brexit, so you can't really have a no deal while half the country's not on board. That's a problem.
The reality is, as we've seen in any economic problem, whether it was the crash in 2008, whether we've seen the economic issues after the Second World War, whenever the issue is ended and they move on, Britain and other countries just simply move on. And there's no way that those Remainers who don't want to have a WTO deal, and if it happened, they would still go to work in the morning. They would still do their job. They will still be picking up the phone, trading with their partners across Europe. And that's what will happen.
Stephen,
that's the positivity.
Why
people move on.
In your view, as an ex-member of the European Parliament, as somebody who's worked in politics, why is Jeremy Corbyn, he's going on and on about having wanted an election and now he's scared to have one? Why?
Because he knows he'll lose. And that is the simple fact. They will have been doing polling, they would have been doing focus groups, and they would have recognised that the mood in the country has changed, whether it's the family members that voted Remain, who are now so angry with the political class that they will see this as people versus Parliament. And they will vote for Boris Johnson.
Getting. I mean, we are getting to a situation, aren't we?
It is no longer left and right. It's no longer Liberal Democrats. And to be frank, the Liberal Democrats, in many parts of the north are a laughing
They're
joke.
very pleasant, though.
They're seen as
I mean, they are
they're
nice,
seen as a
aren't they?
snobbish party.
They eat a
They're
very
seen as the
high-fibre
party of the
diet.
snobs.
Exactly.
Because
They
they've
have
got
muesli.
into
And they do ride
Tories
bikes.
during
They
the
ride
election.
sails
They
in
are
the
seen as
summer.
they are seen as the party of the snobs. They are seen as the party who don't want to deal with the great unwashed.
Emily?
That is why people don't like the Liberal Democrats, except in those areas.
All right.
Like Cambridge.
I want to know
like
whether Emily will deal with the great
I
unwashed.
do actually agree with you to some extent. I think a lot of the problem with the Lib Dems is a lot of people remember how they went into coalition with the Conservatives, and obviously the tuition fees was a big blip, and also the fact that they voted with the government on austerity. So I can't see the Lib Dems gaining that much support in the north, but I do think if there was some kind of electoral pact where the Conservatives said we'll stand down in the north for the Brexit Party, and in some southern seats the Conservatives say if you have the northern seats, we'll kind of have the southern seats. I could see that kind of working, because obviously the north wouldn't really vote for a Tory and never will.
Do
Yes.
you think Jeremy Corbyn should meet the Queen?
I have no kind of reason why he should, to be honest. He's the leader of the opposition.
And he doesn't like the royal family much.
Exactly. Don't slag them off and then,
Yeah,
be all
exactly.
kissy-kissy to their
Exactly,
face.
yes.
A bit two-faced, I'd say.
Yeah.
The only situation where I think this kind of meeting could happen is if there was a vote of no confidence and Corbyn tried to form a minority government, which is a very scary thought.
Should Corbyn be allowed anywhere near the royal family?
I mean, you could wait in the lobby, but I think because you could get a monk. But I think there's no point because people are now finally seeing they didn't really see in 2017.
He's going to be sent in a cab up there, apparently.
In his defence, in Corbyn's defence, and here we go. I think it was a disgrace that Labour didn't support Theresa May's withdrawal agreement because it's a perfect Labour deal because it's more or less a customs union, which is what they asked for. So that was political and not in the national interest. But he has been consistent, Corbyn, on no deal since the beginning. And the reason why he's running scared from this election, yes, I do think he knows he would lose, but he also wants it to happen after November the 1st, so that Bojo can't get us out of Europe, by the back door, and that's one of the big
Do you think
strategic
that is a
reasons.
problem, Mark, that we do refer to Boris? By the way, he filled in for me on Talk Radio once with
that
Ash.
a fact?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Well, you see.
Do you think we should still refer to him as Bojo and, Boris and things? There's not a lot of respect, is there?
It's a mistake.
It
I'm
is.
humanising him.
Affectionate, I think.
The Jimmy Fallon...
How have we gone from
Enough.
We're talking about
What?
Jacob Rees-Mogg laid down in the House of Commons. It's what's all this PC nonsense about? And then it's fine calling
It's called
Bojo
respect.
Bojo.
It's called respect. And you stand
He's
there waving
built
your
his
arms
character.
around.
Yeah.
You look exactly like Jacob Rees-Mogg when I think about him.
I think that we just give them all. If we give everybody friendly nicknames, then we achieve some equality. So we've got Bojo, Jezza. We can. That's it. And we should call Jo Swinson our next Prime Minister.
She could be Swiner.
some people call the Queen Queenie. So it's like,
As a matter of interest, Ricky the Remainer, do we have any interesting points?
Yeah, a lot of people taking me up on the Liberal Democrats moment. Signs saying Lib Democrats sure are being undemocratic, explicitly saying they will ignore the result of the referendum and cancel Brexit. How entitled of them. Phyllis said how the Liberal Democrats are still called that is beyond comprehension. And Darius, referring to something else we talked about earlier, says we need to give smaller parties a better chance of parliamentary representation, which would actually be good if we had PR in this country. UKIP could have done better in 2015, the Greens could have done better, and of course the Liberal Democrats as well.
Never get a majority, though.
But James, there are more dangerous people in the Labour Party other than Corbyn.
Well, there are. I'm
dangerous
sure.
people.
But there are a lot of people. And by the way, please get in touch. Ring in. I'll be on the radio after the 8 o'clock news. We could talk about it then. If you're a big fan of Jeremy Corbyn, a member of Momentum, ring in and tell us why people shouldn't be so scared, because a lot of them seem to be. 0344 499 1000. Give us a call. Right. Let's talk about something serious. We talked a bit about Brexit. Let's talk about something that really is serious, OK? Are you ready for this? Mm-hmm. How many of you go to pubs?
going after this.
Yeah.
Right, OK, fine. Well, let's start with you, Maya. Because you've got to go in a minute, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
OK.
Not to
the price.
pub. I'm going somewhere else first.
All right, you don't have to. It's OK.
Yeah, we all know you fancy a bev.
Yeah, the price of beer in Wetherspoons is being cut by 20p a pint today as an example of how the customs union could reduce costs. I'm not really sure how that works, but we've not even left it yet, but there we are.
Yeah.
Good idea, bad idea?
Of course, I mean, what we could do when it comes to post-Brexit, especially if it's no deal, a lot of the kind of fear-mongering comes from the stuff that are coming to the country. So all the products that are going to come to the country, it's going to be more expensive or we're going to run out. Actually, if we bring down the barriers ourselves and have no tariffs, then it should be fine. What Remainers should be talking about is the stuff that are going out from here into the EU, because the EU could stop it, but that's their problem.
Can we bring down the price of cars we build in this country? For us, rather than...
We could bring the price of
deregulate
cars.
them. Yeah.
When I was in the European Parliament, I was looking at working with people bringing the price of bacon and sausages down, because at the moment Denmark and Germany take 50%, but we give 30% tariffs to America, Argentina, Chile and New Zealand. And if we went to a no-tariff deal with all of them,
sorry, Stephen,
our food
why
prices
is everybody
would fall.
saying food prices are going to go rocketing up?
It's just the Lib Dems.
Scaremongering.
They're only arguing that food prices would rise if a government didn't introduce a reduction on tariffs to the competing countries. So technically, Hammond could argue, yes, of course, Denmark and German bacon and sausages would rise until the government said, OK, but we're going to reduce the tariffs to everyone in the world. Then suddenly prices of food plummets.
OK. Right, so what we need to do is stockpile on German sausage and any other stuff. Right, we're going to... Behave yourself. No wonder you're not an MP anymore. I'm having my hand in my pocket just as a sort of tribute to Boris, to be honest. Maya's got to go. He's got a pint waiting in the bar down the road. He didn't know this was an hours-long show.
Might be cheaper if you're at
So Maya is going to go and leave us now. Come back again on another programme. Thank you very much indeed. We will give him a nice clap.
Yeah, I think so.
In the meantime, we'll take a break. Welcome back. We're live on Talk Radio, and of course we're on television as well with Break the News up until 8 o'clock this evening. If you want to join us and watch what's going on here in our TV studio in the basement, then go on to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter and everything else. Now let me introduce you to Mr. Richard Fordham, who is here. Richard has written a song which is called...
The Brexit Party song. Thank you, my dear Whale. I've never been interviewed by one before.
Have you not?
Not a single whale in my life.
You'll enjoy it, I'm sure. So Richard, are you a singer or what do you do?
I'm lots of things, but I am a singer and songwriter.
You are?
Yeah.
Have you had any big hits we might have heard of?
Sadly not.
No. Oh,
I'm
that's
still
a
waiting.
shame. Yeah.
I wait and hope in.
Yeah, well, you made you made a pop video as well about...
Oh, lots, yes.
Really?
It's Fordham, not Bond, for example.
Yeah.
That's,
and have you made any money out of these yet or not?
Sadly not. I'm still waiting.
Well, when they've seen it tonight, this could be the big thing that you've been waiting for.
It could well be.
I know that Simon Cowell loves this show.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so, just keep your fingers crossed. Right. It's a song all about leaving the European Union.
Yes.
Mr. Richard Fordham.
Thank you.
Take it away.
Britannia ruled the waves, now we're down beneath them. Brussels holds us by the throat till we implement the vote. Britain's made a mess of our EU exit, but our party's best for effective Brexit. Jean-Claude Juncker runs the show with his fleet of private jets. Elites get the benefit, we just get to pay for it. Crisis to a real catastrophe. Think whatever closer union would do to you and me. Britain's made a mess of our EU exit, but our party's best for effective Brexit.
Richard, come and sit over here, Richard. Thank you very much indeed. Come over there. There we are, Richard. Thank you. And I just don't understand why you have not been discovered yet. You know,
shyly hiding away. Ed Sheeran's long run at the top of the shop.
I can't understand it. I mean, I think I should explain for you guys here that actually he was miming.
Is that right?
Yeah, so that's why he was not speaking every word, and you were thinking, "Oh, I wonder what's going on."
Okay.
Absolutely, I wasn't.
Right.
And I haven't seen any miming like that since the early days of Top of the Pops. Very good. Yeah, very good.
Me and Cliff Richard.
Richard, what do you think about Brexit at the moment? Here we are, because old people like us, obviously, Richard,
well, I'm very old.
Are supposed to be huge people in favour of leaving the European Union. Young people like Emily here all want to stay.
I don't think that's true at all. I think it's absolute rubbish. I know lots of people as young as Emily, probably, who are keen Brexiteers. So it's just a question of people who've got the mentality to realise what on earth the EU's done to us, as in completely messed us up. I've been involved, being this sort of age, I've been involved in objecting to the EU from 1975 onwards. I saw all these old MPs coming down and being, Bill Cash and all those people.
Why? Why do you object to it so much?
Oh, because I could see that it wasn't just the economic union, which is what they said what he said it was. It was not that. It was the tentacles. It was basically a Marxist plan, frankly. They're all ex-Marxists, these boys who run. You wouldn't think it, but it's perfectly true. They'll get on with Corbyn.
Jeremy Corbyn.
They'll get on with Corbyn.
But Corbyn doesn't like the EU because he thinks it's a capitalist superstructure.
Yeah, so they're probably right in the middle somewhere.
The difference is, though, the reason that he doesn't want, Corbyn doesn't want the EU is because he wants to be a dictator here himself, doesn't he? Other dictators get in the way, don't they?
But wasn't Margaret Thatcher very good standing up to them? She controlled them. She wouldn't let them do things they wanted to do.
She did her best, but she got toppled because she was actually rumbling them at the end of her time. Yeah, exactly. All that.
Now, Richard, you might be interested to know the public have been very enthusiastically getting in touch with us about your song. Should we risk it? Do you want to risk it?
Shall I have a lynch mob outside?
I don't know. Well, I think groupies. Yeah, Mark is right. You're probably going to get groupies.
Ooh.
Yeah, Mark is going to be one for a start.
I'll be in your hotel room with a bottle of champagne.
I'm more or less not heterosexual, really. But, sorry.
Well, it's all right. No, you don't. You could be gender fluid. You'll be fine.
Bit old for that.
Ricky, the Remainer.
Yes.
What have you got?
We'll start off with Nigel, who says he's like a young Eric Clapton.
Good.
Shorty Boy says, I had no idea he was lip-syncing. And this, I think it's from Sophie. It says, is this in the UK top 40?
It should be, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it's a toe tapper.
Could I just say, if there is anybody with a Remain song who would like to come on the programme, we would love to have you on, get in touch. And if not...
They don't have the balls.
They don't have that. Please, Richard, behave yourself.
Is that a talk radio word? Well, I once was on Radio 1, and they said one is not a Radio
Richard,
1 word.
No, stop it.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I have
Honestly,
a story.
the older generation, you can't control them at all anymore, can you? Ricky, any more?
Let's have a round.
Richard, stop.
No, I think they were all the good ones.
OK, fine. Let's go back to another important topic. Here's one that really annoys me, OK? All the flipping arguments and the vitriol and the venom against Meghan Markle. I mean, I think she's doing a brilliant job for us. I really think she's doing a great job. Who cares whether they take a private jet? If I was a member of the royal family, I'd have 4 or 5 private jets at my disposal just to go down to Sainsbury's. So for goodness sake, behave yourself, Richard. I'm going to keep an eye on you. Emily.
Yes.
Are you a fan?
I think I am a fan. I'm a fan of all the royal family. But I think the main issue isn't the fact that they're getting the private jet. I mean, like you said, if I was a royal, I'd be right on that private jet. Yes, please. I think the main issue here is the fact that, you know, they're really pandering to the likes of Greta on the climate change, saying that they're considering only having one child to limit their impact on the environment. It's just completely hypocritical.
Yeah.
You can't be saying that and then getting your private jet
but
everywhere.
I think to be fair to them, there is so much pressure on them. They're trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
It must be the most terrible thing must be to be born into that family and eventually know you have no choice.
Well, I agree, and actually, you can only be truly safe if you're flying, if you're on a private jet, if you're a member of the royal family. You have any idea what a target any member of the royal family is for terrorists. Now, if they were to travel on an EasyJet or Ryanair flight or any other brand, they're not only risking themselves, but all the other passengers.
Yeah.
So actually, if you find out you're going to Alicante for your 2 weeks in the summer, and you've got Prince Harry up front, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So actually, it's political correctness, virtue signalling gone mad. They are celebrities. They need to be protected. Give them their own plane. However, what I would say, it was a mistake to bring a non-royal into the family because, you know why? This woman is used to freedom. She's independent. She's made her own money. And now she's in this gilded cage that is the royal family, and I wouldn't swap places with her for a second.
No.
That's the price you have to pay for love.
This is the major problem.
Emily, hang on. Did we get that? Just let's take that again. Emily, say that again.
That is the price you have to pay for love.
Sorry, Stephen, yes.
Well, it's bringing me back to my thoughts of when I was a young person. I actually thought love mattered, but there we go.
Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear.
Yeah, there we go.
Ricky the Remainer, we're coming up to the end of the show. Got anything for us?
Yes, Tommy Fiddler has said...
Listen.
Tommy Fiddler.
Tommy Fiddler, I'm not sure that's his real name. He says the point is that they are preaching how all the normal people need to stop polluting, which I guess it's just this hypocrisy that we keep seeing time and time again. How had a nice time in, was it off Sicily somewhere? Took five private flights across Europe.
Yeah.
It's not a good look,
Have you got a problem with
no,
that? If you were a member of the royal family, you'd go on an ordinary plane, would you?
I'm not saying go on an ordinary plane, but
I
I
remember from the days when
times.
I used to allow you to produce my radio show.
It was much better those days.
You
much
were
slicker.
slightly Republican, weren't you? We had to retrain you.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah.
I still am.
Luckily, no, you're not.
I am.
No, you're not. No, I don't have Republicans anywhere near me, or even readers of The Guardian. Emily, to conclude, and I'm going to ask you all this very briefly, we're running out of time. To conclude, Emily, how is this... behave yourself. Remainer, just stand still.
Silence.
Yeah, silence. How is this going to conclude? Are we going to lose Boris Johnson as the Prime Minister? Is it all going to fall apart? Are we going to have an election? What do you think?
I think the only way to solve this deadlock is an election. It's just hard when all of the opposition is so anti an election after screaming about an election for the last 3 months. But I think the only way to really overcome this is a vote of no confidence in his own government. And obviously, if Corbyn doesn't support that, then he's basically implying that he does have confidence in Boris, and he'll look, you can't have a leader of the opposition that's saying that they fully support the Prime Minister. So I think we will get that election in the end, and hopefully we'll win it.
Mark.
Well, Sylvester Stallone made too many Rocky sequels.
Yeah.
But watch this space. Meaningful vote for before the end of October, and it goes through Theresa May's reheated, lipstick on, polished you-know-what, and it goes through and we leave the EU under the withdrawal agreement.
Mr. Wolfe, do you think that is likely, or do you think we will actually, as Boris Johnson has said, I am going to get us out by the 31st of October, come my... Well,
Following the analogy of Muhammad Ali,
yeah.
he said it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you got up. Mm-hmm. And I think Boris is being knocked down a lot by the Remainers, by Parliament, by the media that are supporting this agenda. He's going to keep getting up and he's going to knock them back. And I believe that we'll either get out by the 31st or we'll have that general election where the people will say, get on with it and let's get out.
Ricky the Remainer, in the interest of balance.
Yep.
And...
I think we're going to have to go to a general election. We have to break the deadlock. I don't know how we're going to do it, but I think we will have the withdrawal agreement Mark IV. We'll have Theresa May's original with a little couple of things modified, and it will have exactly what Theresa May said 3 years ago. We'll just get on with it, and it will be exactly the same as 2016.
And I hope all the members of Parliament will realise how much money of ours they have wasted in this dithering and dilly-dallying. And I hope that they get it sorted out fairly soon, because I, for one, am getting quite bored with talking about the same thing. I'll be on the radio after the news at 8 o'clock here on Talk Radio. Thank you very much indeed to my panel. I hope you will always come back again. Not sure about Ricky the Remainer.